guys, Julie with an I here. Today we are going to be reading Light Lark.
Get it bouncing.
Never have I ever read Light Lark. I've never honestly seen the appeal. However, a friend of mine recently read it and he said that it was such a good book. He gave it 5 stars, which honestly blew my mind because the Goodreads rating is so low. I think it's like 3.4 something. But then I looked into why it really was. Now, if you don't know anything about Light Lark, I think most people know it not because of the contents of the book, but because of the controversy that's surrounding it. The author of this book, Alex Astor, she's very TikTok famous these days. She makes a lot of content about the incredulous nature of the success of her book, the fact that it was given a movie deal before the book ever came out. So I don't know the validity of those claims, but those are the claims that she's making. But because of the notoriety around her TikTok content and like the content of this book, people went to Goodreads just to shit on the book without even reading it. I just want to give you guys some examples. We're just going to go through some of the ratings of this book on Goodreads to show you exactly what I mean. Currently, Light Lark, which is the first book in the series, it was released August 23rd, 2022, so about a year ago. It has 39,000 ratings. That's pretty low for Goodreads. In comparison, Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which was very BookTok famous, has about 1 million reviews on Goodreads, so that's pretty low. It has a 3.7 rating. That is better than it was a couple months ago, honestly. Majority of the ratings are between 5 and 4 stars. There's a lot of reviews. People are going to the reviews to fight off bad reviews. They wrote it 1 star. They said, as someone who dropped one of the first comprehensive bad reviews on this book, I just want to say I do not support the review bombing of it. It's tacky and uncouth, and what bigots do every time there are women in a TV show. We're better than this. A lot of the reviews are saying, oh, so we all came here from TikTok. So it leads me to believe that not a lot of people want to read it, they just want to shit on it. And you know, that doesn't speak to anything about the book. Like I said, I don't know what the contents of this book are. I don't know if the story is actually good, but that's what this video is about, honestly. They did a good job of getting you to be curious about what exactly this book is about. I've heard it's compared to like Hunger Games because it's about 6 kingdoms like fighting to the death. I am very curious about if I will actually like this. As somebody who is very interested in fantasy and also romance, I have heard that those 2 categories are something to be said and looked forward to in this book, so I am very interested. Never have I ever read Light Lark. We're gonna start now. One thing to be said, it's a very short book. It's only 400 pages. I could probably finish this in 1 sitting if I'm interested. If it's boring, then I don't know about that. All of the pages have this very interesting design on the top. People on the cover who have talked about it, like Marie Lu, Chloe Gong. This is also part of my 1,000 book challenge. So this is number 127 out of 1,000. So it's a bit later. I did get a bit distracted. Took my sister out to Target. Bought about 4 books accidentally. You know how it goes. But I did get to page 50 of Light Lark. So far, what I've learned is that Hunger Games, as a comparison to this book, is a huge stretch. I mean, the main bad boy is feeding her chocolate truffles. It's a little strange how they're explaining all of like the kingdoms and things like that. So there are 6 kingdoms. Basically, she's the ruler of one of them, and all 6 rulers of each of the kingdoms have to duke it out to break the curse that's on every single one of them. I don't know, the way they're explaining the world and the world building that's happening on is so not organic. It hurts. Like, it hurts to read about 6 different kingdoms in the way that it's being described by the author. It's like I'm guzzling down information. I made it to page 12 and already I had learned about like history, like the culture, the different powers. It's just like so overwhelming. And then additionally, there's this thing where it's kind of a plot twist, but kind of not, because it happens within the first 20 pages. You find out that the main character, Isla, she has no powers. And so she's kind of like this bumbling kind of idiot. Like all of these ancient people, like some of the people who are duking it out are like 500 years old. And here she is, teenage girl with like no powers, who's like the main character. You know, it's like, it's too stereotypical. It's like, I don't even really like it. We haven't gone to any of the fighting or any of the conflict. They've been kind of getting the lay of the land. Like there's still people living on this island where they're fighting. So like they're walking around like it's a normal town. She's more playing a game of psychological warfare, if anything, because every time she talks to like another ruler, she's like, are they being genuine, or am I supposed to have my guard up? Like, are they trying to like play me? Like, it's more psychological. Also, it's very obvious who the 2 love interests are. The first one is the king, Oro, and then the other one is Grim, who is the ruler of nightshades. He's supposed to be like the most hated person, like here next to her. Succubus vampire is like the closest description to what her people are like, except her because she was born without powers. So they think she's like this temptress, this succubus who like eats hearts, and meanwhile she's like, I want chocolate. She's no powers, all she wants to do is eat chocolate. She loves reading, and I'm like, girl, this could be me. But yeah, the first 50 pages just have me really confused about where this is going and like if I'm actually gonna like this. So far the writing has left a lot to be desired. Oh, it's a bit later, about 80 pages in so far. They just had their first duel. It was sword fighting. Grimm versus Isla. She actually defeated him, which seems good, but she has this secret strategy going on with Celeste because they are sisters. I feel like that's gonna go bad in the end. I feel like they're not gonna work together in the end. And then she ends up having to duel the king, and she lets him win so that way it doesn't draw too much attention to herself, which, okay, I'm really glad she's good at like something, like she's a really good fighter. They had another feast together, and anything within like this realm can be seen as like a demonstration, and every single person had to demonstrate their power, and she just showed off like a fighting skill instead. This is so cringe because she like blindfolds herself and takes the king's crown off with like a throwing star. Girl. Okay, but why isn't anyone questioning that she like didn't show her powers? Like, do you think that that's stupid? And also the fact that her guardians like gave her tasks to complete to basically prevent situations like this because they know she doesn't have any powers, and instead of following their orders she just goes along with Celeste. And I'm like, the demonstrations and the tasks are only gonna get harder from here, so I'm just wondering how she's planning to get away with being this powerless weirdo. Celeste and Isla found a way to sort of like steal a little bit of the other ruler's powers, and part of it is by wearing these special gloves that are made of like the skin of someone's hand. And all I keep thinking about is that scene from New Girl where Reagan's like, found something in my room that kind of looks like a hollowed out hand. That's a glove. I never thought that scene would be applicable to anything. It is super late. See, but I made it to page 160 something. Pretty good progress considering I started at like 8 p.m. Right now we've gotten to a really interesting part in the book, so I really do want to continue reading, but I'm just so tired. It's the 25th day of the centennial, and what that means is that they also have to break off in pairs. So the king, for some reason, which was not expected by anybody, chose Isla as his partner. So Isla and Celeste were really banking on the fact that since they were very young and inexperienced, the king would match the two of them together, but he threw them a curveball by wanting to be matched with Isla after he just announced to everybody that he's dying. Nobody knows why he's dying. They think it's just like the curse has been going on for too long, and he admits to Isla that he needs some knowledge about nature, which her people do have a lot of. I think it's really interesting because up until this point, Oro, the king, has been very grumpy and stoic, and like nobody really knows anything about him. He's a King Midas type, so he can literally turn things to gold. I didn't expect to be so into the book. It's still boring at points, but like I did want to continue reading just because now this new development has taken place, so it's pretty interesting. Good night, guys. Good morning, guys. So it's the next day. I am more than halfway done with Lightlark. So far, the relationship and well, more alliance between Oro and Isla have progressed. So he's trying to reel her into his plans and like what he needs her for. And so far they've been unsuccessful in figuring out what he needs and finding it, I should say. But she's also still trying to keep up with her alliances with Celeste and then also Grimm. It's getting a little bit more romantic between her and Grimm. He's like the stereotypical morally gray, dark, whatever. Listen, that is my favorite character. I eat that shit up. But something about the way he's written in this book, cringe, literally, so cringe. It's not giving what it's supposed to be gave. I know that eventually that Oro will become the king of Lightlark. He'll become another love interest. I don't really have any interest in him so far. The one thing I will say is that I really like the setting and the premise. I think the setting is really well done. There's a lot of different picturesque moments that are like described really well, and I really appreciate that. But the characters are just, I don't think they're well developed. They're a little underbaked. They're a little raw, doughy, need to be cooked a little more. Right now I feel like it's falling into like 3-star territory. Hi guys, so it's later in the day. I am just gonna be reading for a bit before my friend comes over and we bake, but I'm at a really good spot right now. More than halfway through, and it's getting good with the plot and also the romantic relationships are developing. Let's get reading. In this book, there's a whole realm that dies by the time they're 25, and I'm just wondering, what does their government or economy look like? What does their lifestyle look like? How does that affect the average birth rate? What does that look like from a nuclear family perspective? Like, that's just crazy. So it's a bit later in the evening, and now I've packed for our trip tomorrow. I'm gonna continue with Light Lark. I have a really bad feeling I'm probably gonna have to finish it in the car. I only read a couple pages last time that I saw you guys, but it just keeps getting more interesting. I am 75% of the way done. So much has happened. Kyla made the mistake of telling Oro her secret, which is that she doesn't have any powers, and he betrays her and tells every single one of the rulers that she has no power. Grimm admits that he actually already knew because his power is able to sense curses, and since he couldn't sense it on her, he knew that she was powerless. But Oro comes back to her and is like, I'm really sorry, I had to do that because one of the other rulers was distrustful of you and I needed access to her land to see if the heart was there. She was like, I didn't betray you. He did. Like, I didn't betray you basically without a reason. And now she's like reluctantly trying to decide if she should work with him again because he's like, my promise still stands. I will give you the heart and you can have all the power. It's getting more and more interesting to me. Like, I'm getting more invested in this story than I was at the beginning. The beginning was really rocky. I really want to know if she gets powers. I really hope she does because I think she deserves them more than anything. Yeah.
You're vlogging?
Only because I have to finish this book. This book, which is not supposed to take me this long.
Julie.
What'd you break?
The fridge.
No. We're in Pennsylvania, in Lancaster. Okay, somebody corrected me. It's Lancaster, not Lancaster. Okay, we're in Lancaster, and I need to finish Light Lark. I read none of it in the car, but I cleaned the entire hotel room, and now I can read in peace. So, I just got to a part where Oro and Isla had a little bit of a moment because, of course, she has this wine that like gets her all drunk. She starts drunk girl stripping herself, and Oro's like, Miss Ma'am, would you like to go into the room before you do that? And he like hasn't been sleeping, but she's like, I'm gonna make you some sleepy night tea and we're gonna go lay on my couch together. And then she wakes up and she's in his lap and he's asleep because he's at peace. I ate it up. Then, hard cold truth, in the morning, Celeste was attacked, and that doesn't stand for a girl. She goes to Grimm and she's like, make her disappear right now. And he's like, done, ma'am. I will do anything you say. I will do anything for you. So it's like my two very awesome tropes battling to the death. It's like enemies to lovers versus grumpy sunshine. That's really hard for me. My body is like rejecting it. Her and Grimm just got together. The romance isn't romancing. She pulled on her necklace that he gave to her and he like comes running in the room and he's like, are you okay? Are you hurt? It's all the right moves, but because I really don't feel any sort of way towards Grimm, I'm not that excited about it. I usually like the type of archetype that Grimm is, that like morally gray, very dark, very witty type of character if done correctly and tortured enough. But I don't feel like Grimm is that tortured. I just feel like he's kind of there. Her and Oro just got to this little scene where they figured out where the heart is, and I think I ship them. And if she finds where the heart is, she's gonna become more powerful than Oro. Oro had frowned. Then he had surprised her by taking off his crown and placing it on her head around her own. If you're right about this, wildling, he said, you might become more powerful than even me. She had taken off her own crown and placed it in his golden hair. It was laughably small on his head and her lips twitched. Wilding suits you, king. I don't know what it is about that. I ship them. I think I like them. So Oro is like hurting and in pain. She's like, what can I do to help you? And he's like, can you please sing to me? Then they find the heart. Someone shoots her. And Oro's like, please, no. And he can't save her because the sun's out. But then Grimm shows up and ruins it. Plot twist. Oro's like, I'll let you choose who to save because you found the heart. And she chose her best friend Celeste because she assumed that Grimm would be safe. False. Because they have the heart, he doesn't need Grimm anymore. So he chose to kill Grimm. And now they're at odds again. 10:30 at night. I'm filthy. I'm dirty. I've literally been in the trenches. But I just finished Light Lark. Why am I so right? Why did I call it? Play back the footage. I called it. Celeste Weirdo, freak, not who she said she was. Oro. Oh my god, when Oro had access to her powers, I really love being right. Because why did I say that Oro was the only one to be trusted? Why did I say that? Grimm was weird, and I understand now why he was so two-dimensional. He literally banking on the fact that she would just fall in love with him again. That is the end of my challenge of reading Lightlark. I just wanted to summarize my thoughts now that I had a few days to sit with it. Immediately when I finish a book, I'm definitely more favorable with the rating, and then once I sit with it, I'm like, wait a minute, let's be a little more analytical. At first, I wanted to give this book 4 stars, but after I sat with it a bit, 3.5 stars sounds a little bit more fair given the context of the book. The book definitely got better towards the end. The beginning was super rough. I mean, you saw in the blog, like I really did not think I was going to be liking this book that much. I still stand by that the characterization was poor, especially Grimm. Did not like him at all. I was just very validated in the fact that Isla didn't choose him. After finding out that they had already had a relationship and were in love, I was just like, okay, which is horrible considering that tragic memory loss, love interest, tension is like my specialty. I love that kind of stuff. Hello, my favorite show is The Vampire Diaries. I definitely think that the plot is what drove me to be centrally interested. There was many conspiracies, many, you know, plot twists, different angles, because like it was like a puzzle. It was a riddle because it was a prophecy. I think I will be reading the second one, but I am very much hoping that it is not centrally about Grimm, because I am Team Oro. There you have it, my review of Lightlark. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one. I love you. And oh, never again can I say never have I ever read Lightlark. Bye! Also, I have to get through this very quickly because the same friend who recommended this book, we made a promise that we are starting the book Fourth Wing on September 1st. September 1st is in 2 days. I really want to get this over with so that I can read Fourth Wing.